You're sitting at your own kitchen table, staring at a woman who has called you useless your entire life, while she sips coffee that you secretly paid for, in a house you secretly paid for, wearing clothes you secretly paid for. She has no idea that the failure son she loves to humiliate is the only reason she isn't on the street right now. And today, you've finally had enough. Because in about 30 seconds, she's going to find out exactly who has been paying for her perfect little life. And what happens when the useless one stops paying? You ever notice how in every Reddit family drama story, there's that one person who does everything quietly? And the whole family just walks all over them like it's normal. That was me. I'm 32, American. The lazy disappointment of a very loud, very opinionated family. The type that loves Thanksgiving dinners, Facebook humblebrags, and making sure everyone knows who the successful kid is. Spoiler, that kid was never me. Growing up, my mom had 2 kids, my younger sister Emily and then me, the practice child, apparently. Emily was the golden girl, honor roll, cheerleading, sorority, perfect Instagram feed. My mom would post her college dean's list every semester like she was the first person on earth to get good grades. Meanwhile, I struggled in school, hated being forced into sports, and preferred working part-time jobs to stay out of the house. Mom's favorite line, "Why can't you be more like your sister?" Second favorite line, "You're so useless. I swear you'd lose your own head if it wasn't attached." By 18, I moved out the second I could. I went to community college, dropped out, picked up a job in IT support, and just stayed quiet. No big graduation party, no proud Facebook posts, no "my son is my hero" mugs. When I fixed their Wi-Fi or set up their new phones, my mom would roll her eyes and say, "At least you're good for something." It was always a joke to her. To me, it was a reminder. No matter what I did, I was the family disappointment. What my family didn't know was that useless me was working my ass off. I stayed in IT, got certifications, climbed up slowly. I never bragged because I knew they didn't care. My dad died when I was 24. And from that point on, I watched my mom spiral financially. She'd overspend on decor, trips with her church friends, and anything that made her look like she was living her best life. All on my dad's modest life insurance and whatever small savings they had. One night she called me crying, saying she might lose the house. That was the first time I stepped in. I had just gotten a big raise and a bonus from a project no one in my family even asked about. Quietly, without telling anyone, I paid off the late mortgage payments. I told the bank to route all future mortgage communications through me. I set up automatic transfers. From that month on, I started covering the difference between what she could pay and what was due. She thought the bank had restructured her payments and lowered the interest. In reality, useless me had just become her secret landlord. Over the next few years, my salary kept going up, got remote work opportunities, did some cybersecurity consulting on the side, and lived pretty frugally. No fancy car, no big apartment, no flexing on Instagram. I didn't want their approval anymore, but I also didn't want my mom to end up homeless. So I paid, quietly, for everything. The mortgage, the home insurance, her medical bills when she didn't meet the deductible. The credit card she racked up on emergencies that looked a lot like Amazon and Target. The funny part? Every time I visited, she'd find a way to take a dig at me. "Oh, you're wearing that? You still renting that small place? When are you going to grow up and buy a home? Emily and Tom are saving for a house, you know? They're so responsible." I'd sit there biting my tongue, knowing that not only was I technically the one who owned the roof over her head, but I was also quietly paying for half of Emily's lifestyle, too. See? Emily married her college sweetheart. Tom, picture the classic American golden couple. Engagement photos in a field, Pinterest wedding, just bought our first SUV. So blessed posts. What nobody saw behind the scenes was their absolutely terrible money management. They ate out every day, lived on credit cards, and treated buy now, pay later like free money. They were always about to start budgeting, like a diet they never started. Eventually, my mom called me about them too. They're struggling, she said during one of her guilt-laced phone calls. Emily works so hard, and Tom's job is just not paying enough. They're trying to save for a baby, for a house. You're good with computers and money now. Can't you help them a little? I should have said no. I really, really should have. Instead, I said, I'll see what I can do. So I did what I always do. I helped. I sat down with Emily and Tom, showed them a basic budget, and offered to pay off one of their credit cards to give them a reset. The condition was simple. They had to cut the card, stick to a budget, and stop treating DoorDash like a food group. They agreed. They cut the card. And then 2 months later, they quietly opened a new one behind my back and maxed it out on a beach vacation to distress. I found out when my mom let it slip that they deserved a break. You're so judgmental about money stuff. That was the first crack in the nice guy wall I'd built. I started distancing myself a bit. Still paid my mom's mortgage and utilities, but I stopped giving Emily and Tom direct money. Instead, when my mom would whine about something being shut off or about those greedy companies, I'd quietly step in and pay the bill online, in my own name. Then came the breaking point. My mom's 60th birthday party. She wanted something special. That was the word she kept using. I gave my life to you kids. I deserve one special party. My sister took the lead on planning and, as usual, volunteered my financial support without fully asking. Next thing I know, there's a rented venue, catered food, open bar, a giant fabulous at 60 inches sign, and a photographer. The bill, right around $8,000. My mom, of course, assumed Emily and Tom were paying most of it because they're such a successful couple. Emily, of course, assumed I'd cover it because you make more and don't have kids. I told them flat out, I'll cover half. The rest is on you. They agreed. Then the week before the party, the venue called me because my card was the one on file, saying the remaining balance was still unpaid. I called Emily, and she started crying about unexpected expenses. The car needing repairs, and we'll pay you back. We promise. Tom sent me a text about being family and not nickel and diming each other. I was exhausted. I ended up paying the full amount because the contracts were already signed and my credit was on the line. The party itself looked like something straight off TikTok. Balloon arches, a candy bar, music, the whole extended family in their best outfits. People kept hugging my mom, telling her how lucky she was to have such generous kids. She would beam and say, Emily always takes such good care of me. I don't know what I'd do without her. Not once did she mention me. At one point, I heard her tell one of my uncles, I worry about my son, It's always been so unstable. Emily is the responsible one. I was standing right behind her when she said it. Later that night, in the kitchen, as we were cleaning up, she dropped the line that flipped the switch in my brain forever. She looked at the mess, sighed dramatically, and said, You're useless. You know that? Emily planned everything, paid for everything, and still you stand there looking tired. You can't even be helpful at my party. I just froze. My hands were in the sink washing dishes I had indirectly paid to dirty, useless again. In the house I was paying for. At the party I'd paid for. In front of the daughter she thought was her savior, who hadn't actually paid a dime. I didn't say anything that night. That was my first mistake and my last as their silent provider. Instead, I went home, opened my laptop, and pulled up every single account tied to my name. Mortgage, insurance, utilities, the auto pay for her phone bill. The Venmo history of emergency transfers to Emily for groceries that somehow matched Sephora receipts on her Instagram. I sat there until 3 a.m. staring at numbers that added up to tens of thousands of dollars over the last few years. Tens of thousands I'd spent being called useless. So I made a plan. Not a petty one, not a rage-fueled burn-everything plan. A quiet, brutal, logical one. The kind that leaves no room for manipulation, gaslighting, or pretending they didn't know. The final trigger came faster than I expected. A month later, Emily called me. Not texted, called, which she never does unless she wants something. She launched into this dramatic speech about how mom deserves a better car. She's driving that old thing and it's embarrassing. And how you make good money and don't have kids? Can't you help with a down payment? I just quietly asked Emily, how much do you think I make? She laughed and said, I don't know, like, enough. You're single, no mortgage, no kids. You should be doing great. That was the moment I realized they truly believed I was doing nothing with my life. No house, no responsibilities, no one depending on me. They really thought I was just drifting, but somehow also magically available as their personal emergency fund. They had absolutely no idea that for years, the only reason my mom wasn't underwater was because of me. They didn't care enough to ask. They just wanted the money. So I said, no, I'm not helping with a car. She flipped. She called me selfish, bitter, ungrateful. She said, after everything mom's done for you, you can't even help a little. And then she dropped it. No wonder she calls you useless. You just prove her right? I didn't yell. I didn't defend myself. I just said, okay, you know what? You and Mom are about to find out exactly how useless I've been. And I hung up. The showdown happened 2 weeks later at my mom's house. Emily and Tom were there sitting on the couch. My mom was at the table with her usual mug of coffee, acting like the queen of a castle she didn't realize wasn't hers. I walked in with a folder. Not gifts, not groceries, it's just paper. My mom immediately started in with the guilt. If you didn't answer your phone, I was worried. Emily said you were rude. What's wrong with you lately? I sat down across from her and said, very calmly, we need to talk about money. She rolled her eyes and said, oh, not this again. You're always so dramatic. Emily chimed in, if this is about the car, we already talked about it. You're being selfish, that's all. I opened the folder and laid out the first mortgage statement from when my dad was still alive. Then the one from the month after he died. Then one from last month. I highlighted the payment history. The same name was on every single payment after Dad's death. Mine. I watched Emily's fake confidence fade a little. My mom frowned and said, what is this? I said, it's the last 7 years of your mortgage, every month. Paid from my account? She snorted. No, that's impossible. The bank lowered my payment after your father died. I remember I slid the next page to her. It was the life insurance payout summary, the dates, the deposit, the depletion. Then my first transfer, and the next, and the next. The bank didn't lower anything, I said quietly. I did. I've been making up the difference, every month. Since Dad died, there was a silence so heavy you could hear the fridge humming. Emily looked between us like she was watching one of those Reddit IATA stories come to life. Tom stared at the papers like they were in another language. My mom's face went from disbelief to anger in 2 seconds flat. Why would you do that without telling me? She snapped. Are you trying to make me feel guilty now? I almost laughed. I did it because you were about to lose the house, I said. Because you called me crying, saying you had nothing. Because despite everything you've ever said to me, you're still my mother. And I wasn't going to let you end up on the street. But you know what? I should have told you one thing. I'm the reason you've been able to keep living like this. Emily crossed her arms. So what? You want a medal? You helped your mom. That's what family does. I looked straight at her and asked, who do you think paid for Mom's medical bills last year when her insurance didn't cover the tests? Silence. Who do you think covered the electric and water when they were about to be shut off? More silence. Who do you think paid for the entire birthday party you've been bragging about on Instagram? Her face went red. We paid, she started, but I cut her off and slid over the party invoice with my card statement stapled to it. You paid nothing, I said. Fact, the venue called me when your card declined for the deposit. I covered it. I covered all of it. It's just like I've been covering everything else. My mom slammed her hand on the table. Don't you dare talk to your sister like that. She's done more for me than you ever have. That was it. The last string. I took a deep breath and said, Mom, I don't think you understand. Emily has contributed exactly $0 to this house. To your bills, to your stability. Every time you thought she was saving you. That was me. Every time you praised her and called me useless. I was the one paying quietly in the background. She opened her mouth to yell again, but I didn't give her the chance. And it stops, I said. 3 months from now, it all stops. I refinance the house. The mortgage is in my name. You either start paying for your life, or we sell this place, pay off the balance, and you move into something you can actually afford. I'm done. The room exploded. Emily called me controlling, abusive. A financial narcissist. Tom muttered something about power trips. My mom went straight for the jugular. Tears, shaking hands, accusing me of taking her house and kicking her out to punish her for not loving you enough. It was like watching a live episode of every Atah household meltdown compressed into one conversation. But here's the thing, I had receipts. Actual physical receipts. I laid them out like cards in a game I never wanted to play. For years, I said slowly, you called me useless, lazy, a disappointment. You bragged about Emily's life, her marriage, her imaginary financial responsibility. Meanwhile, I was the one paying for your roof, your heat, your medical care, your parties. I didn't tell you because I didn't want the fake gratitude. I just wanted you safe. But if you think I'm useless after all of this, then you can live without my useless money. My mom looked at the papers again. For the first time, something like fear crossed her face. So what? You're just going to abandon your mother? She whispered. After everything I sacrificed? Shook my head. No, I said. I'm giving you 3 months. I'll even help you budget, find a smaller place, or get a roommate. But I'm not your invisible ATM anymore. You want to keep this house? You pay for it? You want a new car? Emily and Tom can figure that out. I'm done being the hidden backup plan. We're not exactly no contact, but we're not close either. I've become the villain in her version of the story. The ungrateful son who made everything about money. In my version, I'm the one who finally closed the bank after years of interest-free emotional abuse. I'm not proud of needing revenge, but I am proud of finally choosing myself over a family who only valued me when I was invisible. And that woman who called me useless. She now knows the truth. The only reason she ever got to live like that golden mom she liked to pretend to be was because of the son she spent decades tearing down. She may never say thank you. She may never admit it, but she knows. And that knowledge, that crack in her perfect story, is the quietest, most satisfying revenge I've ever taken. If you were in my position, would you have told them from the start or walked away without ever revealing the truth? Let me know in the comments, what would you have done in this situation? And if you want more real-life, Reddit-style family drama and revenge stories, don't forget to subscribe to Golden Years Diary for more.